My next guest says the president's emergency declaration is on solid legal ground. California Republican Congressman Tom McClintock is a member of the Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
You and I spoke recently, and it's interesting because it was no surprise that this lawsuit was coming. It's no surprise that all of these states are so-called Democratic states or run by Democratic governors. But when we listen to A.G. Becerra, your state's Attorney General, justify filing a lawsuit on behalf of Congress, it feels kind of weird. Why wouldn't Congress, take these steps on their own? Why would Becerra and other local officials need to step up for Congress?
Well, I don't know. Congress has standing in its own right, but I'm glad he did because he's been completely incompetent at getting cases ultimately settled in his favor against the Trump administration. I think this is largely political, and I think that ultimately this suit's going to fail as well.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there's a large political aspect to this. In fact, I thought it was very telling late last week ahead of the announcement from President Trump when Nancy Pelosi, the leader of the Democrats, the Speaker of the House, changed her tune and started suggesting not legal action, but urging or suggesting to your party, Republicans, hey, if you want to go down this path, fine, but you've opened a Pandora's box, and when we have a Democratic president, we will take unilateral action. There will be national emergencies that cover a range of issues from climate change to carbon tax to any issue like that. So what do you make of the idea that she is going a different route here and suggesting the Republicans have made a mistake here?
Since when has the left ever relied on legal precedents to expand their power? Barack Obama wrote DACA out of thin air. I mean, that is legislation over which he had no authority. In this case, the president has a specific legal grant of authority that was adopted by Congress and signed into law back in 1976. It's been invoked 58, now 59 times for national emergencies such as civil unrest in Sierra Leone and Burma. The problem that Becerra and these leftist activists are going to have is convincing the Supreme Court that somehow the civil war in Sierra Leone is a perfectly legitimate national emergency, but 60,000 foreign nationals illegally crossing our border every month is not.
I think the tactic is, from a legal perspective, is that this circumvents the power, the Congress's rightful power of the purse. I'm not sure how many of the current or former national emergencies intervened with respect to usurping the power of the purse from Congress to the executive branch. What would you say against that argument?
This law specifically gives the president the ability to reprogram military construction funds that have not already been obligated. In other words, those contracts have not yet been signed in the event of a national emergency that he has declared. Again, there's a long precedent for that law. Was it a good idea for Congress to give the president that authority? That's a separate question. But the fact of the matter is, it did. He has that authority. He has the responsibility to defend our country, and he's now using that authority to meet that responsibility. That's a very good thing.
Congressman, I want to shift gears a little bit because there's a lot of really growing calls out there for McCabe and Rosenstein to testify in front of Congress. What do you think?
Well, I think that they should, but far more importantly, I think that they should be subjected to the same kind of inquiry that we've seen the Mueller investigation take over the last couple of years. There needs to be a special counsel to get to the bottom of all of the skullduggery that was going on in the FBI and the Department of Justice to undermine the constitutional election of a president of the United States. And that's exactly what they were doing with phony evidence, destruction of evidence, of a complete double standard in the application of the law. I mean, you can go down a long laundry list of misdeeds by this cabal of partisan Democratic operatives at the upper levels of the FBI and the Department of Justice. We have got to get to the bottom of that. We have a new Attorney General whose most important responsibility, in my opinion, is to get a thorough airing of all of these issues, hold the people accountable for breaking the law, and restore confidence in the impartiality of our Justice Department.
I think everyone would agree with that, though. There's a lot of information that all Americans want to get to the bottom of. Congressman, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Charles. Thanks for having me.